560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This just came over the transom. Some sad news. Legendary crooner Tony Bennett dead at the age of 96. You have to turn your microphone on for people to hear you.
I don't have headset.
Yeah. Tony Bennett dead at 96.
I interviewed him at Ravinia back in 2003, I believe it was. And
did you make out with him?
No, I didn't make out with him.
All right.
Hello.
Well, that Edward J's almost thing.
That escalated quickly. No, and he was just a complete gentleman, and he's an accomplished singer and everything. I mean, he was humble. Through all that fame and everything, he was very humble. I'm really need a moment here.
Cable car.
I left my heart in San Francisco. There you go, his signature song.
Climb halfway.
I wonder if Channel 5 will have that file footage.
96 years old, pretty good run for Tony Bennett. And he was singing up until the last couple of years.
He did an album
crazy
with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, the duets thing. Yeah, that was cool.
He's very hip, so God bless his soul.
All right.
Now I'm really sad, Dan.
Well,
why you got to do that to me?
Good. Who wants to live to 96 anyway?
Tony Bennett does.
Well, he
got a voice like that.
He did. All right.
That was a full life.
All right, we got Open Mic Friday coming up next hour, so we can do more Tony Bennett tributes, but we have to get to difficult discussions on seemingly intractable public policy now, sorry to say. Interesting exchange. We talked a lot about the Family Leadership Summit where Tucker Carlson interviewed the leading Republican candidates for president over the weekend. Talked about it a number of times this week, different candidates. One we haven't gotten to yet was the exchange that he and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott had on the matter of illegal immigration. And I say this, given that Chicago has its own dealings with migrants at present.
I'm going to talk about that for Open Mic Friday because I'm out of my mind right now.
I'm seeing, as local reporting, 600 migrants are coming to Irving and Lakeshore Drive, and these migrant centers that are being set up and so forth.
No, they're taking away programs from our children. Chicago park districts are being shut down, and even low-income seniors who get meals at these places like the Broadway Armory, they don't care. No, sorry, you're going to have to be on the back burner. Find your own meals.
Well, this is the situation at the border and in sanctuary cities and states like Chicago and Illinois is what prompted this discussion. Take a listen. Tucker and Tim Scott.
I can't imagine many people would disagree with that. I wonder what you do with the millions of foreign nationals here illegally, many with fake papers, who are here. Like, what do you do with them? You become president.
Yes.
Sworn in January 2025, and you've got, let's say, 7 million people who've come in the last 4 years. What do you do with them? Do you deport them?
I think it's a very difficult task to deport them all at one time, but here's what we make sure they never do, is you never break the law and become an American citizen by breaking the laws.
Well, hold on, but would you deport any of them? How many would you deport?
I think you have to start the process of identifying where they are. Listen, this is a really important question. I hope that we don't miss this. Because those folks who come into our country illegally, even those who are seeking asylum, go around our country, and some of the asylum dates for your court appearance is 2033, 10 years from now. So finding those who have come to our country illegally has to be a part of the job number one. And that means that we're going to have to take a look panoramically across our country and make sure that we stop this thing called sanctuary cities and sanctuary states that receive our resources to make sure that the federal government cannot figure out where the folks are. So in order for us to achieve the goals that the really brilliant guy on the stage, I'm not talking about myself, wants us to achieve, that was a compliment, by the way.
Oh, sorry, I went right over my head. I was like,
I want to make sure I got it. Sometimes I give compliments, I have to let people
Brilliant's
know.
a little strong.
Okay. Really smart cookie over here. Achieve, we have to identify where they are. And I'm not going to pretend that will be an easy task, but that should be the responsibility.
Well, wait a second. The federal government's knows where everyone is because everyone has a smartphone and they're tracking you.
Yes.
So we know anyone using a fake Social Security number, Why not just like drop them off in Tijuana? Bye-bye.
Well, I'm going to appoint Tucker Carlson as my bye-bye ambassador to figure this out. So we're going to work together on this. And I'm
a sincere question. Like maybe the reason that people come by the millions, uninvited, illegally, making a mockery of the rule of law. I have to obey the law, but someone from Haiti doesn't? Or what? But they come because they know that no politician will say, come and you're leaving. Like they don't put up with this in Japan.
Absolutely. Well, they don't put up with it.
You're gone. Why not do that?
What about that? I mean, this is, part of the feasibility question. And sometimes politicians in particular, will take the position that they know is the popular position that people in this country illegally need to be returned to where they came from and go through a legal process. Pretty straightforward. So I'm definitely for that. But it's this feasibility issue where we have to do this and we have to do that. And they're throwing up roadblocks to a destination they don't really want to arrive at. And that's part of the question when it comes to border security. Let's put that now to Tom Hogan. He served as a federal prosecutor, local prosecutor, and elected DA, currently in private practice. Tom, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Happy to be on.
What about that point that Tucker made? I mean, look, is this really a resource issue or a intergovernmental cooperation issue, or is it a political willpower issue? If you want to find people, unless they leave cocaine in the White House, the federal government can find them. There's just a lack of desire to do so.
It's actually a really complex issue. That issue about everybody's got a smartphone and the feds can track it everywhere. Everybody does not have a smartphone. Many of those migrants do not. So you will not be able to track them. And it is hard to figure out where they are because they disperse everywhere. So you would need a really super coordinated effort by everybody to do it. On the other hand, the people who you really want to concentrate on are the folks that are here and who are breaking the law.
Right.
Not just by getting here, but who are breaking the law while they are here. Those are your troublemakers. So those folks, you can find them because they virtually raise their hands. They break the local law. And it's not just a matter of sending them back. The message at that point is you're going to jail for a long time, and then we're sending you back. And that's the sort of message that can actually slow things down.
Well, this is sort of my perpetual criticism, which is right. Those people who've committed crimes additional to entering the country illegally, oftentimes violent crimes, you know who they are. They're in the system. They could be ejected immediately, and we know from audits of CPB that the violent criminals who are here illegally, allowed to stay in this country. They return to this country to commit more crimes multiple times. I mean, the numbers are in the thousands. Serious crimes multiple times, and yet the government can't achieve that simple goal of removing these people permanently. So what does that say about any of the other issues that revolve around border security that are more complex?
Oh, yeah, that is a huge issue. I remember at one point where we had somebody who was dealing drugs, and we told the feds, lock him up before you send him back. And they just sent him back. He was back inside our jurisdiction within 2 weeks.
Right.
They shipped him back over the border, and he just got right back in line, came right back up, and went right back to what he was doing.
Well, what do you think that I don't know if you've heard about this, but Mayor Eric Adams, they're sending people down to the border to hand out flyers telling them not to come to New York?
So everybody, and this is the problem, that the feds need to coordinate this because every local mayor's response and local governor's response is going to be different. We've seen some local mayors and governors shipping illegal immigrants off to the sanctuary cities and saying, here, you want them? You've asked for them. Here they are. You've got Mayor Adams sending flyers down saying, don't come to New York. You won't be welcome here. But he is spending a lot of resources on them. So in a country like the United States, where we've got 50 states and thousands of mayors, you're just going to have incredibly different responses. The one thing that's proven to be true over and over again, whether we're talking about illegal immigrants or homeless folks, is if you pile up resources for them, you will attract them, and it will cause problems for you. And you're seeing that not just in the United States, but you're seeing that in Europe too, who is suffering through a huge crisis now because they invited all these folks in, they didn't control them, they provided them with a huge amount of resources, and now there's a tremendous backlash. And the leaders who permitted all of it have all hit the road already and said, hey, that's somebody else's problem to deal with, which is a classic political gambit.
With respect to state and local law enforcement, this something else that's become a nagging problem that is becoming more pronounced with each passing day. Some 1,000 cops have resigned or retired early from the Los Angeles police force. New York Post reports about 1,400 NYPD cops are expected to resign this year before reaching retirement age. In Chicago, the numbers are even bigger on a proportional basis. A study by the Police Executive Research Forum found 50% more resignations nationally last year than in 2019. The future of law and order of civil society in big cities in particular seems to be increasingly imperiled.
Yeah, Chuck Wexler at PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum, has been tracking this very well, and he appropriately says it's a crisis for law enforcement, and it is. We haven't seen numbers like this of declining police and early retirements and resignations since the 70s. And we all know what happened shortly after that happened in the 70s, which is we see these huge crime spikes that persisted for 20 years. So, yes, this is a huge problem in our big cities. It's a big problem in our small cities and our boroughs and our townships. They cannot fill up their ranks right now. They will be advertising for 3 positions, and instead of getting the 75 people who used to apply, they're getting 2 people to apply. They're taking anybody who can come in. So, yeah, it's a huge problem.
And if you had mayors that were interested in addressing this crisis, even if you still have the Soros-backed prosecutors that we've talked with you about a lot, what would a sensible mayor, in your view, do to deal with the morale issues and related issues that are driving officers off the force and creating a lack of interest from others who might otherwise be inclined to join?
Well, what people don't realize is police are migrating to places where they're welcome. So where mayors have stood up and said, we back our police and we enforce the law here, that is where police officers are going. Where I live, they have plenty of police officers, and every time they have an opening, they can't fill it fast enough because so many people apply because we enforce the law and we respect the police. That's a message that can be sent out fairly clearly. San Diego, big city, and has a mayor and a prosecutor who enforce the law and respect the police. The San Diego police, people still sign up to go there. Even though it's a tough job in San Diego, you're dealing with a lot of different issues. They still like their jobs there. So, yes, a mayor can do that. But having a prosecutor who won't prosecute is always going to be a problem for the police in doing their jobs. So Chicago is going to have to stand up and say, we respect our police, and we're going to enforce the law and mean it. And right now, nobody means it.
No, that's for sure. Yeah. You're a former federal prosecutor, as I mentioned. Can the same thing happen to the FBI that's happening to police departments in Chicago, New York, L.A., and elsewhere, which is that people don't want to be a part of that organization anymore? Is that possible, given where the FBI stands in the public's mind right now, not perceived very positively, particularly among Republicans, but even generally, they don't get a positive rating from a majority of the country? What kind of impact might that have on the future of the FBI?
Well, the FBI is an elite institution, and it's always been hard to get in there, and they have great resources, very good pay. So there are always a lot of people applying. Will the level of skill go down some? Possibly. The FBI's leadership, though, is not at the rank and file level. The FBI's problem is at their leadership level. So it is as if your chief and your lieutenants of your police department all decided that they were going to play politics. That's not a good look. The rank and file agents are still trying to do their jobs the best they can. So don't anticipate them having that same sort of problem. It's more of a PR problem for them combined with their leadership issues.
Although I got to say, I mean, a lot of rank and file that leave the big city police departments, I mean, these police chiefs act like politicians. I mean, the guy that we just had, Brown, he was a politician. He was a flack for the administration that was antagonistic towards police, still is, and the new one. So, I mean, that the politics at the leadership level certainly happens in big cities, and that's certainly part of the calculus that rank and file officers are making.
Absolutely. The difference for the rank and file FBI is that they're spread out across the United States. So as opposed to in Chicago, where when Brown was the chief, every single Chicago officer felt that impact every single day.
Yeah.
An FBI agent in Boise, Idaho, really couldn't care less what Chris Wray says in Main Justice's the headquarters, FBI headquarters. He's out there doing his job and has very little impact on him.
That makes sense. Good point. Tom Hogan, he served as a federal prosecutor, local prosecutor, elected DA as well, currently in private practice. Tom, thanks as always.
All right. Hang in there in Chicago. I know it's not easy.
Yeah, it's hard, but we'll get through it. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your time. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan